accountant. I'm pretty much starting up a new channel, and I'm trying to give a different perspective on financial stuff and cryptocurrency, financial reports, financial markets. But, what seems to be hot right now is cryptocurrency. So I'm just going to give an accountant's perspective on this stuff. And typically we're conservative people, but I'm not here to explain shit that I don't understand. I'm here to explain what I know, how it's going to affect you guys, give a different perspective. I actually have some qualifications. A lot of these guys on YouTube have no qualifications at all, and they're giving you guys advice. I mean, some of them are giving good advice without any qualifications. It doesn't mean anything. Experience is a lot more valuable. But, I got a bachelor's degree in accounting, and I got a graduate degree in chartered professional accounting. So these concepts aren't exactly foreign to me. Some of these concepts that these investors are talking about, right? You got to follow the money, and I'm basically just here to explain things. I'm not here to tell you guys, invest in this crap coin, invest in this stock because I think it'll go. If I'm saying something, there's going to be some sort of information that's backing that up, okay? Now, what's going on in the crypto community, what I've noticed is the Black Swan event that a lot of these YouTubers have shown, based on what Dan Penna said in his, I guess it's a course that he does. I'm not too sure, to be honest with you, but this is the video that they're sharing, and they're saying that he's speculating that there's going to be a black swan. So I'm basically going to play a little bit of the clip, and then I'm going to get into some explanations. As long as this thing works.
Oh my god, it works! I cracked 100,000.
Does it now? That's great.
It's taking a lot of...
All right, guys, so this is what it is.
I'm announcing today, I'm putting my ass on the line. I'm telling you, there is a Black Swan event coming. A Black Swan event coming. I don't know if we're going to war with Putin. I don't know if another corona is going to come out that is not curable. I don't know whether the Federal Reserve is going to finally implode. I don't know what it is, but it's coming. Because every massive bull market needs to find an excuse to correct. And even though we had a recession that only lasted 70 days or 80 days or whatever it was last year, the market is way, 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 way over valued.
All right, we're going to stop him right there, okay? So basically, this is the clip. He's telling you that there's going to be a Black Swan event, and we're basically going to get into this, okay? And he's telling you that the market is overvalued. So let's start with the overvaluation, okay? Everyone's saying the market's overvalued, but they're saying the Buffett indicator, this, that, you know what I mean? We're going to use the Buffett indicator, but I'm going to show you exactly how it works, okay? So basically, the Buffett indicator is just a ratio that Warren Buffett uses to indicate when the market is overvalued. But what's really important is these two figures right here, okay? You've got aggregate US market value, and you got annualized GDP. Okay, so the market value is essentially what the value of the market is at this particular point in time. This was done at July 8th, so it was 53.4 trillion as of July 8th. All right, so then you have annualized GDP, which is basically all the products and services that are going into the market for that year. So if you check the Investopedia definition, it's the monetary value of all finished goods and services made within a country during a specific period, right? It's made within a country. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's spent, but it's made. So a finished good is, could be something that you're manufacturing, and it's manufactured in stages. And once you actually complete it, it's a finished good. It's ready to sell. Services is, you guys know what services are. It could be limousine services, restaurant services, any type of services. This is the totality of what's going on in a country. Okay, every country has their own GDP. So the Warren Buffett indicator literally takes the entire market value and then divides it by the annualized GDP. And if the market is greater than the GDP, they consider it to be overvaluated. Now, it's possible for it to be larger. It's not it's not the end of the world if it is, but it's larger by a magnitude of 2.33 times here, okay, or 233%. So basically, they're saying that there's more money in the market than goods and services that have been created in the last year. So this is what, in fact, makes it over evaluated. Okay, so in the last financial crisis, 2008, it was overvaluated as well. I'm not sure what the numbers were. I heard somebody was saying it was like 63%. So relative to that point in time, we're much more over evaluated, right? 233% relative to 67%, 63%, whatever it is. It was in the 60s. Yeah, I mean, you can check this out, just pull up 2008. What was the US market value? Check what was the annualized GDP for that year in the US. Just do the calculation yourselves. Now you know how to do it, right? Okay, so that's what he means by overvaluated. That's the first thing. All right. The second thing is he's talking about a black swan event. All right, let's go check what a black swan event is. Okay. A black swan event is a highly improbable event that has three principal characteristics. It's unpredictable, it carries a massive impact, and after the fact, we concoct an explanation that makes it appear less random and more predictable than it was. All right, so I'm going to get into this here. Basically, it could be anything really, but they're just saying that it can't be predictable, right? And essentially it's going to have a massive impact. Some could say COVID-19 was a black swan event, but I'm going to show you that some individuals don't think that. So you have this guy, Klaus Schwab, who's the founder of the World Economic Forum, and this individual wrote a book called COVID-19, The Great Reset. You can Google this and write the PDF, COVID-19 Great Reset PDF. You'll find it for free. You can check it out. Everything that I'm showing you is from there, okay? So, this is what it is. This is what it looks like. Okay, look, there he is, Klaus Schwab. All right, so this is why I think Dan Penn is actually right. All right, because everything that this guy says has actually been happening. You know what I mean? It's almost like preemptive programming. They're telling you in advance what's going to happen. He puts out this entire book. You should read this. I've been reading through it. I might do some other videos if I find anything interesting on it that's related to finance. Of course, there's a whole bunch of COVID stuff that he mentioned in here of June last year, and it ended up happening, within this year. I mean, pretty bang on stuff here. But for the importance of this video, Black Swan. So if you go to the complexity paragraph and you go to right here. Many pundits have mischaracterized the COVID-19 pandemic as a black swan event simply because all exhibits the characteristics of a complex adaptive system. But in reality, it is a white swan event, something explicitly presented in this book, okay? Now, a white swan event is different than a black swan event because this one is highly certain with three characteristics. It's certain, carries an impact that can be estimated, and after a fact, we can concoct an explanation that recognizes the certainty of the occurrence, and it shifts focus to our errors in our judgment and other human forms of causation. So this is why he's saying that COVID-19 was a white swan event, because you had individuals like Dr. Fauci, Klaus Schwab, the man himself in this book, Bill Gates, all coming out prior to the pandemic, 2 years prior to it, saying that, we were going to face a pandemic. Okay, Dr. Fauci said it in a testimony. Gates has been saying it in TED Talks, and Klaus Schwab, I believe, made a public statement. If it wasn't the year before, it was 2 years before. All right, so these guys all said it, so this is why they said it was highly certain, and also it says, individuals like Bill Gates have been warning us about the next pandemic risks, ever specifying that it would emerge in a highly populated place, like in Asia. Economic development forces, people and wildlife together, would spread quickly and silently by exploiting networks of human travel and trade, essentially airplanes. That's how it, traveled across the world so quickly, and would reach multiple countries by thwarting containment. All right, so all these things are technically true. So in that instance, they're right on that. It technically is a white swan if they went out publicly and said it, but this is all semantics, whether you said it, expected it or not. The important thing is these types of events have large economic impacts, and we can capitalize off these impacts. All right. Later on, at the end of the second paragraph, he goes to say, To sum it up, the pandemic is not a black swan event, but some of its consequences will be. So you got this guy basically telling you that the pandemic itself isn't a black swan, but the consequences will be. This is the fallout. The only fallout that really is going to result from this post-pandemic is going to be an economic fallout. I mean, he mentions it many times in this book. You know, he's in many sections, he's got chapters devoted to this, okay? You know, he's basically telling you that it's going to take years for the economy to recover. I mean, we shut the economy off. We closed down services for months. I mean, months. And services, depending on which country you're in his book, he states that there's 70% to 80% of the country's GDP. And we know what GDP is. We checked it out, right? You know, total total services and finished goods in total that the country has made, right? And they're saying that 80% of that GDP number, of 20%, 80% of the 22.9 trillion, so we'll call it 17 trillion, is services. And you shut down the country. So that's a whole lot of income, cash that was supposed to flow into the economy that didn't flow in, right? That's huge. That's catastrophic. You set the system back. This is why they're talking about a reset, right? And they're telling you this. So the economic consequences is what's going to be the black swan. Now, they can facilitate this in many ways. I'm thinking it might be a cyber attack because they're preemptively programming us for that as well. I'm gonna do a video on that, stipulating why I think it's gonna be a cyber attack and how that's gonna impact it. If you shut the internet down for X amount of days, the amount of costs it's gonna incur. I mean, this is what it seems like, you know. So there's gonna be a black swan event. I think Dan Penn is completely right in this, but for all we know, he's reading this PDF. You know what I mean? He's just getting it from here. He's already figured out what, we're looking at here. So I think he's completely right with this black swan event. It's coming. And we need to prepare. There's going to be an economic collapse. I mean, this is imminent. In Canada, for example, they had something like $268 billion in taxes, and they printed somewhere like $385 billion in money. They printed new money, right? So they printed more than 1.5 times more money than that was generated in taxes. This is why you're starting to see inflation. Hyperinflation. You put more money in circulation, so this is obviously decreasing the value. Products and services are going up in response to this. It's incredible. Okay, so there's definitely going to be economic consequences post-pandemic. So the black swan event, I think, is completely right. We can prepare by hedging into items like gold. We can hedging essentially meaning we're going to offset some of our risk, right? So we won't put our money in the stock market if we think the stock market's going to collapse. There's going to be a correction here. He's telling you it. This guy's telling you there's economic consequence. If we check the Buffett indicator, it is over-evaluated. So it might be time to start pulling your money out of the stock market. You know, there's already individuals like Warren Buffett that have pulled major amounts out of banks. He's pulled a lot of holdings out of a lot of companies. You can go check all that out. Bill Gates has pulled out major positions out of Apple, out of Google, out of Amazon. These are incredible companies here, arguably some of the most valued companies in the world. And he's pulled 50% ownerships out of each and every single one of them. Some will say it's the Melinda Gates divorce thing, but whether he pulls that amount out in cash or he pulls that, or he keeps that amount in stocks, if he's dividing his assets, he's dividing his assets, right? Cash is an asset, stock's an asset. So that's not why he's doing it. He's doing it to hedge risk because they're expecting a market correction. Not necessarily a collapse, but you might see a 30-40% correction here. All right, so that's all we got for today. I'm gonna give you another video, basically stating why I think a cyber attack is an imminent threat here. It's most likely what's going to occur. All right, guys. So this is The Accountant. Catch you on the next one.